Hello guys, I'm Zhenyang Li, and now it's my project middle term process presentation about my research project. And before everything starts, I want to make a special thanks to my supervisor, which is Tony Chen. He provided my working place in the University of the Lake, so very thanks to him. And the topic of this presentation is called Correlation Analysis of Adversarial Attack in Time Series Classification. And additionally, uh, this research already published on conference ADMA 2024. And here is the table of the content. This presentation will cover the following sections. The first, I will introduce the introduction about the problem of robustness in neural networks, especially in the content of the time series classification, and the motivation behind is to improve the robustness and understand why this happened. And then the proposed method and the framework and the experiment steps will be introduced. And then is the result and the discussion. And in the result, mostly is about the FFT-based attacks consistently achieve the higher success rate, and the Gaussian filtering proves effective in reducing attack successful rates, which can help the model robustness. And in the next, I will have some conclusion and future work about the research. The neural networks have become essential in many domains due to the ability to accurately classify and predict data. But however, there are susceptible to adverse attacks, like the small impractical changes in the input data can lead to misclassifications. And ensuring the robustness of these models is urgent, especially in sensitive areas such like the healthcare and the finance, where the incorrect predictions could have serious consequences. Strengthening robustness helps to maintain the robustness and effectiveness in these models. And now we can look at this picture. Even very small changes. Okay, so first, the F is the model, and we can have the different input like x1, x2, and the x1 plus r. And the x1, you can see as a human is the dog, and the x2 is a cat, right? And the r here, okay, wait a moment. The r is Lois, and now we put the x1 and r together, we concatenate them together, and we can see a diverse examples. The diverse samples, because r is small, so it's still in the echelon, which means it's very small. The lowest is invisible for human, but to the model, because the model is sensitive, so it will be moved to another side in the decision boundaries, so it makes the adverse attack happens. So anyway, the robustness of the model classification model is very urgent. So the motivation behind this work is just to investigate the method that can improve the robustness of these models to make them more resistant to this kind of attacks and ensure reliable performance in the real world scenarios. Now we can look at the proposed method. So suppose we have two infinity long time series, which is x and x plus r, where the r represents a residential or Lois sequences. So we aim to calculate their degree of similarity. So the tau represents the time delay, a parameter that allows us to explore the correlations between the sequences at various intervals. So specifically, the xt denotes the value of the first time series at the time point t, and the xt plus tau corresponds to the value of the second time series at the point t plus tau. So this latter value can be seen as the first series displayed by a time delay tau, potentially in corresponding noise or other modifications. The symbols, the x and the bar x, represents the mean values of the time series of the x and the x bar respectively. And now we can make the assumption, we can make a sum, and if it's continuous, it's the integration to get the correlations. And now we can look at the equation 3. In the equation 3, we can see the parameter k, referred as a midpoint, is a crucial value at which the sigmoid function reaches the values of 0.5. By incorporating the weight function Wt into the similarity calculating during the assumption process, we can develop a weighted similarity measures. And if we look at the equation 3, we can see that both part of it is just a sigmoid. So we can use this to get a normalized version with additional weight. And then we can put this W into the equation 4, which we can get a weighted correlation similarity. This weighted correlation similarity can be incorporated into the over-switching loss functions of a neural network, serving as a regularization component alongside the cross entropy, which is in the equation 5. And the left part is just a traditional cross entropy, and this part is just the weighted correlation similarity, and the alpha here is just to balance the weight of the. And we can see this is the result of a test result of this loss, the modificated loss, and the x is the location of the sigmoid midpoint position, and we're doing the normalization, so it starts from percentage 0 to the percentage 100, and the y-axis is the adversarial attack susceptible, which means the attack susceptible rate. So we can show that if the k is become bigger, the normalized ASR is have the more possibility to get more smaller. So it's dedicated to that. The midpoint can influence the result, make the attack more hard. Okay, so get the idea from this. We show there are two kind of the attack method. One is the FFT method. We can try to get the most high frequency, because if the k become bigger, the lowest have the tendency to have more component of the lower frequency. So one way is use FFT. We get the lowest and we do the FFT, the Fourier transform, and we drop the low frequency part and get the high frequency part. And another method is use the cosine, because if the tau just set the tau equal to 0, the corresponding correlation function will just be changed to cosine similarity. Okay, and alpha 1, alpha 2 here is also to balance the weight, and the log here is to sure, because cosine, when cosine is near to 1, the gradient is very low. So we want to make the gradient have a higher weight in here. And now we can look at our attack and defense framework. And in here, I will also tell you some details about the experiment set. So here, this picture indicates the structure of our comprehensive attack and defense framework. And during the forward propagation process, the input data first will be transferred into a defense layer, where it encourages the three parts. The first is direct message without any augmentation, or the application of the Gaussian filtering for smoothing, or the introduction of white noise before being forwarded to the neural network. And for a commercial classification task, usually neural network typically consists of an encoder, a fully collected layer, and then is a soft mask layer. And in this paper, we explore the 5 different models, which is ResNet 18, and MACN, LSTM FCN, and MACN, and the next is the time set to vector. Oh, sorry, also have the inception time. Yeah. And each of the model can representing a different mainstream neural network architecture, which specifics to be detailed later. And following the passage through the follicular layer, the cross entropy between the predict and the actual labels is completed and backbonged. In adversarial text, the objective is to minimize the cross entropy between the predicted distribution and the desired distribution. A conspect delivered from a Dong's paper 2023, which involves swapping labels of the highest and the second highest probabilities. During the backbone progression, rather than updating the model F, the perturbation R is digested, and the modified input, the X plus R, is fed back into the little which corresponds to the right line. This architectural design allows us to examine the efficiency and drawbacks of various attack and defense strategies, as well as different models. And the result of the experiment is just showing in the following part. Due to the time limitation, I will make the following part quicker. We first have a look at the table 1, and the X part is a different attack method, and the Y part is a different model. And easily we can see the FFT method can get a better result, adversarial attack success rate, than the normal part. Now we can have a look at the attack performance comparison. The figure continuously contrasts the attack successful rate and the mean success distance across this method. A data point positioned above the y equal to x line in the XR comparison significantly superior the performance of the corresponding y-axis method over its x-axis comparison. Conversely, for the MSD comparison, a point below the y equal to x line indicates a more effective minimization of perturbation by the y-axis method. Specifically, the comparison between swap and the PGD, which we also call it GM, across subfigures A and E, indicated the swap has its superiority in SR across numerous datasets without a significant reduction in MSD, hinting at the influence of the target label chosen on the result. Moreover, the slight advantage of cosine over swap in SR as shown in subfigure C and G, alongside almost identical MSD values, undercross the potential unrealized potential of the cosine regularization, necessitating further experimental violations. The FFT method, as evaluated in the subfigures D and H, not only suppress the swap in SR across the majority of the dataset, but also demonstrate lower MSD, aligned with our initial hypothesis regarding of the effectiveness of higher frequency protections. Our observations reveals that FFT, by enhancing higher frequency modifications in the lowest R, consistently achieve a better SR and lower MSD across most of dataset, suggesting its efficiency in generalized subbattle and successful adversarial samples. And note that all the data point here is on the UCR 2018, which is a 128 dataset, and we also have 5 different models, just as I talked before. And now we can look at how we can make the conclusions about this paper. So here, this figure is an illustration of the neural network, how it adapts to learning global information through the defense mechanism, employing the normalized autocorrection functions, NACF. It details key transformations. Lois introduction, the transforming original time series into its Lloyd ones, NTS, and smoothing via high-frequency filtering, like the ghost filtering, retrieving Lloyd series to their original state. These modifications significantly affect the NACF's correlations at small and large tau values, showing case reliance of the long-distance correlations against the local information distortion due to noise and filtering. The subfigures B and C depict the NACF's alignment after declaring the first data point, which the natural leader works automatically executes is equivalent to the label. The separate figures D and E demonstrate the constantly of the secondary autocorrelation functions after the removal of the constant points, underscoring the defense layer's effectiveness in maintaining permanent global information and aimed disbalances. Underlying the normalized accretion functions, we review a prediction with a small level later works for prediction local rather than global information, a bias exploited by the adversarial text. These results underscore the necessity of integrating considerations of local versus global information processing and frequency analysis in designing both attack and defense to boost the natural network's silence. And this study advocates for future investigation into achieving an optimal between the adversarial responses and the model robustness, aiming to forge more screens and dependable machine learning frameworks. And now, thank you for your guys. And due to the time limitation, there are so many interesting things I can't tell you. So if you are interested, you can refer to my paper, which already published in ADMA 2024, and I will also add the archive link on the following. Thank you guys. Thank you.